Hello, everyone, and welcome to this ninth episode of Brilliancies of Mikhail. And today we are going to analyze a game between Bent Larsen, the great Bent Larsen, and Mikhail Tal, played in the candidates playoffs. I think it was held in Netherlands in 1969. So yeah, let's start with the analysis of this game right now because this is going to be a really interesting and a very informative video for the beginner players regarding basic tactics. So, if you see this position, let's come to this position right away. We have Tal's with the black pieces, first of all. So, if you see this position with Tal's perspective, he has already opened the white king. Yes, he has sacrificed a rook for that. And let's see how Tal continues the attack. So, if you see the white king is open, the black pieces are well coordinated and they are very close to the white king. This is a sign of a very, uh, you know, uh, successful attack. And let's see what Tal does. So Tal actually finds that his knights are in between his queen. So he actually his queen has to come at least to g5 or h4 to launch a successful attack. And he has to clear this knight from this x6 square. So for all those beginner players who are watching this video, I will request you guys to pause it and because I've given the main idea what Tal needs to do here, and so you guys can find the best move for black, keeping that idea in mind. So yeah, for those who have got it, congratulations. Now you're starting with the chapters of tactics. And for those who want to enjoy Tal's tactics show, Tal plays the move knight captures on e4 with the idea of queen g5 check. And yeah, I mean, this is a forced capture to take. I mean, if you don't take the knight, if you leave the knight on g4, the queen is going to come on g5, queen g2, and it's all over because the knight on e4 covers the f2 square. So you have to take. There is no choice. So Larsen takes it. You have f captures on e4, and now comes queen to g5 check by Mikhail. And Larsen actually doesn't have any options. You can't block with the bishop. You can't go king h1 because then queen g2 is nicely in checkmate. Sorry, queen g2 is in checkmate here. So Larsen plays the only defending move, king to f2, and now Tal plays queen to g2 with the check, forcing the king to go back to e1. You have king to e1 by Larsen, and now, how should Tal do? I mean, when I fed this position into engines, the engines say that this position is completely better for white because black has sacrificed a rook, black has now sacrificed a knight, so white is up a lot of material. But from human point of view, playing this position as white is going to be really difficult for Larsen, and this is why Tal banks upon the fact that he's going to increase the pressure on Larsen's pieces. So there are various ways to win here, f3 being the most active way. But Tal finds a nice plan here, and Tal plays knight to h4. So I could have very well asked you guys to pause the video here to find knight h4, but I have to explain the idea of knight h4 in much more depth. So you can go f3. F3 is not bad. I mean, pushing f3 is a very nice idea here. You cannot take with rook. You cannot also take with the bishop. If you take with the bishop, you have queen captures on f1 with a checkmate. And if you take with the rook, then you have queen to g1 with the check. And the king is trapped. The king cannot go anywhere. If you play bishop to f1, you lose the rook for free. And look how nice the queen is sheltered. The queen can't come to c8 because the bishop is guarding the c8 square, which is a very important detail in this entire attack. So for f3, you cannot take by the rook, you cannot take by the bishop. And I mean, this would have been just too much for Larsen to handle. But Tal actually plays the best move here. Tal plays knight to h4, preparing f3, so not hurrying up. Again, a very nice thing to learn from him. And now what should white do? I mean, white has to somehow get the queen and the rook for the defense of the king because these all pieces are actually defending the king, but they are not enough to defend the white king. So, of course, the queen can't come on c7 and c8 as we discussed. The rook covers the c7 square. The bishop covers the c8 square nicely. So, Larsen finds a way to, kind of bring the queen back in the game. And this is not actually a way, but from human point of view, it's a move that can be considered. So, Larsen plays the move bishop to e3 here. And the Larsen says, well, I offer you another piece because I'm up a lot of material. Larsen is up a piece and a rook. But so he has to give something back in order to safeguard his king. And now Tal can take on e3, and f captures on e3 is again possible. But Tal again finds the best move here. So this is one of the cases where I will ask you guys to pause the video and find the best move. Of course, the hint for you guys is that the best move is not f captures on e3. And also we will discuss why that is not the best move and what's Larsen's idea behind playing bishop to e3. Yeah, for those who have found it, why f captures on e3 doesn't work, let's see. If you capture f captures on e3, it's still good, but now comes rook captures on f7. You lose a very important defender of the c7 square. And now if you take with the king, now there is queen c7 check, there is bishop h5 check, and suddenly the white pieces just get along in the position. And now the black is king under black is the one who is under the fire. Okay, and you never have to be under the fire when you are attacking yourself. So you can't allow this. So this was the idea of Larsen behind sacrificing the bishop. So Larsen says, well, okay, even if you take the bishop, I'm still going to be up a whole rook, and then I'm going to try and exchange of the queens and get over the control of the position. So Tal doesn't allow him to do so. Tal plays queen captures on this. This is the move that you had to find. And why is this move so much dangerous? I mean, Tal is down the piece and a rook, but none of this is actually favoring Larsen. And now even the engine thinks because even from human perspective point of view and human perspective, it's very difficult for white to survive. There is a very simple reason. Of course, there is no counter in any attack that anytime we make, we have to always take the counter play into control. And Tal is threatening queen captures on e3, Tal is threatening bishop captures on f1. There are multiple threats, and it's not simple for Larsen to handle all of threats. So Larsen tries to move bishop to f2, and Larsen says, "Well, okay, now you were threatening to capture my rook and the bishop, so I'm defending my bishop now with bishop to f2, and now again a nice trying to pause the video and find the best move for Tal. It's not that difficult because now if you see the knight is just ready to participate in the attack. The bishop is already participating, and you have to just increase pieces that participate in the attack. So for those who found the move f3, now it's the correct time. Tal pushes pawn to f3. And Tal says, well, okay, now I'm defending my knight. I'm also attacking your bishop. And not only am I attacking the bishop, after pawn takes, the rook will be attacked twice. So a lot of poison to this move. And what can Larsen do now? I mean, Larsen's bishop is pinned, so he can, of course, not move the bishop. Larsen has to lose the rook also. So although Larsen is up a rook and a piece, it doesn't feel so because the knight on a8 is completely out of the game, and the rook on c1 is doing nothing. Practically, it's actually there is no use of such a rook behind the queen. Okay, if the rook was on c3, at least rook c8 check would have been a possibility to be considered. So you have bishop captures on h4 by Larsen. You have queen captures on h4 with the check. And what do you do now? You can block with the rook, but then simply pawn captures on e4. Also, I think for rook f2 there is e4 that is just crushing. I mean, with white you have zero amount of things to do. You cannot prevent e3. You can play queen to f4 trying to pin this pawn, but now comes pawn to b5, queen b5, and now simply again e3. I think it doesn't work because of queen e8 check. But now simply pawn captures on d3 should work for black. There is too much of things. Now the bishop is also coming into game, and I don't think white will survive this attack. It's completely plus position for black. So you can't defend this way. That is why rook to f2 fails here. Well, in the game, Larsen plays knight to f2, trying to guard it with the what to say with the knight. And now Tal almost does the same thing, but in a much better way. Tal plays pawn captures on e2. Tal says, well, okay, I first attack the rook on f1. Your rook cannot move, of course. Take a note of this because if you move the rook to g1, then knight on f2 is going to be hanging, and black is going to win heads down. So you have to take the pawn. Larsen plays queen captures on e2, and now Tal plays to move pawn to e4. And Tal says, well, okay, now I'm threatening pawn to e3. And not only pawn to e3, there is bishop capture. I'm sorry, not bishop captures on b2. That can be played, but then e3 is the main plan for us. So bishop d4 is possible, and there are several plans. Bishop h6. Once the pieces start to move, it's going to be much more difficult for white to actually survive. So Larsen plays rook to g1. He says, well, okay, now my queen is defending the knight, and so I play rook to g1, attacking the bishop, also pinning the bishop. And Larsen has a nice plan to tackle on e3, which Tal plays. Tal plays the move pawn to e3. And of course, Larsen has to take. I mean, you can't allow Tal to take one more piece and stabilize this position. Again, look how this bishop is still playing a very important role of covering the c8 square. So you have queen captures on e3. And now Tal plays rook to e7, and Tal says, well, your queen is gone. But this was Larsen's idea behind playing rook to g1. So feel free to pause the video and find the only defense that Larsen can deploy to kind of save the game for himself. Okay, for those who found it, congratulations. Larsen is indeed a very good player, and Larsen finds rook captures on g7 with a check. And what do you do? Of course, you can't capture with the rook. That will be very sad. You get queen e8 checkmate. That's not how we want to lose a game after attacking so well. So Tal plays king captures on g7, and now Larsen again finds the best move here, rook to c7. And this is indeed a position where maybe in hurry, half of the players can blunder by capturing the rook. After rook captures on c7, knight c7, suddenly the entire storm is over, and white has successfully, maintained his advantage of the knight. He's up a piece, and white is completely winning the game. So you can't play that. But if not that, what else can you do? So Tal plays the only possible move. Tal plays bishop to d7. Now again, the queen is under a pin, so the queen can't move. So Larsen finds another best move here. Rook captures on d7. Again, keeping the same pin into consideration. And now Tal has to capture. Rook captures on d7. And after the entire attack, after the entire series of exchanges, it's rook versus two knights. But what matters is the placement of the knights. And again, as I've already told you guys, and even in the previous games, the placement of your opponent's pieces and his king actually matter the position, and that is what we call as a compensation in chess. So for this two pieces versus rook position, the compensation for Tal is an open king and a trap knight. And let's see how Tal psychologically builds up the pressure on Larsen. And even in the next move, Larsen blunders actually. So this position is quite playable for white, but for a human, if you have a knight on a8 which can't move, and you don't seem to have any way to defend a knight on e8. It's odd for any human to get disturbed in this position, and that is what exactly happens with Larsen. A very important point to note for all of you guys: we have to always keep pieces close to each other when you have a lot of pieces. That is what we call as coordination of pieces. Like if you see the king, the queen, and the rook are they can pretty much come close to each other and try to create nice safety against the king. But Larsen gets frustrated here. He plays queen captures on e7, and Larsen says, "Well, now my knight can come into the game." But the queen on e3 was a very centralized piece, and the moment you bring it away from the center, this is what is going to happen. So now comes rook to e7 with the check. Uh, you have king to d1. Of course, knight is guarded by the queen, so there is no tensions for that. But now comes queen to c4 by Tal. And Tal says, well, now your king is in a huge case. And what do you do? Well, there is actually no move here. If you play knight b6, then queen need to check, followed with picking up the knight on f2. It's going to be checkmate soon. And if you play the move that Larsen plays, queen to b6, trying to defend, keep everything defended. Now Tal plays queen to f1 with a check, and it's very well designed. You have king to d2 by Larsen, and now comes rook to e2 with a check, and this is gone. Then knight on f2 is gone. Still, you see, if Tal doesn't want to allow any minute counterplay, also to went Larsen. So Larsen plays the move king c3, and now Tal could have very well taken the knight with the rook with the queen, but Tal doesn't want to allow even the queen trade because he wants a full and final checkmate. He doesn't want to give any ideas of white trying to get a compensation out of the two pawns and knight versus a rook. Like for example, if you take with the queen, captures, it is still good for black. I mean, just you have to take the pawn and push the pawn to a queen. It's that simple win for black. But he doesn't even want to give white any hopes of victory. Like white may feel that he has two pawns and knight for a rook, so white can go for a win. And so he doesn't want Larsen to go in that mindset also. So he doesn't capture the knight, and he finds that the absolute best. So Tal plays queen to c1 with the check. Again, there is not much that you can do. You have king to d3. King to d3 can be played, of course. Sorry, Larsen did play. It's an analysis line. But it doesn't matter. After king to d3, you have queen to check. The king is again forced, and that is going to be what actually happened in the game. So, of course, in the game, king to d4 was played. You have queen to e3 with a check. Now, you see how the queen is nicely covering all the uh, squares surrounding the white king. Uh, It is not a skewer, of course, because knight is defending the white queen. So just to look for white. You have king to c4 by Larson, and now rook to c2 with the check, just finishing off the game in style. And now what do you do? It's anyway there is a checkmate, or even white is losing the queen. There is no point to it. The king cannot step in the d file. The king has to go in the b file. Now comes rook captures on b2 with a check. And of course, here after rook c2 check, Larsen designed the game, but this is just a possible line, king b4, rook b2 check, and anywhere the king moves, you just capture the queen on b6, then you take the knight on f2, and it's going to be the game over, because no player will even think of winning the game down a queen versus a knight. It's completely hopeless or right here. So again, a very fierce attacking game. You see the king walk from g1 to b4. It's just so. Uh, I mean, for chess players who have tactical approach in their games, it's a feast for all of us. Like personally, I enjoy analyzing Tal's game much more than any other game. So yeah, that was the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you come back to this question, like in every analysis, I usually have a sum up at the end of the video. I try to sum up the entire thing that Tal did. Let's come back to this. Yeah, knight captures on e4. A very simple, in chess terms, it's called the clearance tactic. You clear the way, you sacrifice your knight to clear the way for your queen, and that's just what black needed here to be done. I mean, this is queen g5 check is more or less forced. The king is open, and then you see how Tal used the principles of check, king to f2, queen g2 check, king e1, and when you feel you need more pieces, that's the correct time to bring all of your pieces under attack and have a nice little plan of winning the game. So, multiple things to learn. Clear and static, first part. Second, nice defense, as we saw, the bishop and the rook guarding everything around the black king, because you have to keep your king defended. That cuts off the counterplay chances for your opponent when you are attacking your opponent's king. And the third thing is piece placement, waiting for the perfect opportunity to crack the code and finishing up the game, finishing up your opponent. So yeah, that was a quick, you know, fierce attacking game from Tal as usual. We will be back in the next episode. I think it is the 10th episode of this Brilliancies series with one of the games that I've shortlisted. It's a game that I had to show you guys from a lot while, but uh, when the other game comes into the series gets added up, and that is why the brilliant stuff remains behind. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video also. Do subscribe to our channel if you have not.